So welcome everybody. Thanks so much for taking the time today. We're so glad that you could join. We're going to be recording this session, so those team members who weren't able to join today will still be able to access the webinar. And if you wouldn't mind, if you have just entered, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself in the chat with your name, where you're calling from, and the type of organization that you're partnering with this year. So Community Garden is a common example. And as you can see, our team is on video and off video, whatever's working best for their circumstance. So please know that you're welcome to do whatever works best for you. So we're going to go on to our agenda for the day. So on today's call, we'll be going through a quick introduction to our team, an update on the Community First Grant applications, 3 tips for growing healthy partnerships, a few suggestions to keep in mind this year around volunteering and COVID, 3 tips for engaging team members at your location, and then we'll open it up for questions. And we'll aim to do this all in about 20 minutes. And so let's dive in. So I wanted to start by introducing you to our amazing team behind the email addresses. If you see any of the articles on interview about Community First Grant announcements, our social and blog posts highlighting Community First Grant partners, or attend any of our webinars like this one, no doubt Nikki, Shantae, Nona, Mary, and Edia had a hand in it. If you send an email to our grants@wholecitiesfoundation.org inbox or to our info@wholecitiesfoundation.org inbox, Geneva and Tam are most likely the ones finding answers to your questions and replying. And if you see a garden sign at your partner's farm or hear that they received their grant check in the mail, that was probably sent by Dina. So just know that we're all here to support you and your Community First Grant partnerships, so please stay in touch. You can reach out to any of us individually, but the fastest way to connect is to email grants@wholecitiesfoundation.org, and we'll make sure to get the email to the right person. So we're going to go on to our application update. So the Community First Grant application closed this Monday evening, and of the 62 organizations that we invited to apply, we received 55 applications. We know that sometimes emails get filtered as spam or other issues arise, so we've reached out to the organizations who didn't apply to offer an extension until August 31st, next Tuesday, and we CC'd the team member who nominated them to make sure that you stay in the loop. Our team is now reviewing all of the Community First Grant submissions and will notify all applicants in mid-October. Again, we'll be sure to keep you in the loop on this. So throughout the year, we'll ask you to submit 2 very short updates on how things are going with your partner, and we'll ask your partner to submit a status and final report. These reports and status updates really help us better understand how we can better support individual team members and partners, and it helps us improve the program overall. Of course, if you ever want to share feedback in the meantime, always reach out. So those are a few of the upcoming things on our timeline, and now we'll move on to starting strong building partnerships. So we have 3 tips today about building successful partnerships. The first is to not wait. So we hope that you'll be involved with your partners regardless of their grant status. So if you haven't already, we'd encourage you to start volunteering with them now. The fall is a busy time on farms and in gardens, and typically nonprofits will be looking for all the volunteers they can find. If your partner isn't selected for a grant in October, you'll continue to be invited to these calls and receive our check-in emails and be a part of the program. Of course, you can opt out if you prefer, but we'd love to have you. Our next tip is to look for guidance from the Community First principles. These principles were created as guideposts to developing healthy relationships, and all of them are valuable, but there are 2 I want to highlight as especially important if you're working with a partner for the first time. The first is focus the work on meeting the needs and reflecting the desires of the community. So sometimes when we enter a neighborhood or a group that we aren't a part of, even if we know a lot about the volunteer activity like gardening or merchandising or cooking, we can lack the context that we need to help us contribute positively. So leave those assumptions behind and enter any new space with humility and an appetite to learn. Be curious about your partner's goals, challenges, and what kinds of support they're looking for, because it might not always be what you assume. The second principle I wanted to mention is always deliver what we promise. Do not promise what we cannot deliver. So you don't have to be at the garden every day to be a good volunteer. You just have to align the needs of the organization with your ability and availability and communicate when that changes. It's better to start off with a small commitment you can know that you'll be able to follow through on and build that trust rather than overcommit and then have to bail when things get busy. Our final tip for growing partnerships is around goal setting. So you all included fantastic goals in your nomination forms. And if you're not sure where your nomination form is, you can find it by logging into submittable.com. But I would challenge you to spend 5 minutes reviewing these goals. And if you haven't already, making them as smart as possible. If you aren't familiar with it, the SMART method is a tool you can use to plan and achieve goals. So ask yourself if your Community First grant goal is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So for instance, instead of having a goal of helping an organization as much as possible this year, you could set a goal to volunteer 1 Saturday a month and engage 5 new team members each Saturday. Write your goal down somewhere you'll see it, and bonus points if you share it with your leadership. It can really help them stay in the loop and help them support you, but also be a good way of holding yourself accountable. The year gets really busy and it can be hard to remember or track goals if they're vague and out of sight. So setting specific goals will help you keep on track and celebrate accomplishments. So unfortunately, COVID has made many things in our lives more difficult, and that includes volunteering. So let's talk about it. Safety is always the #1 priority, so please follow the guidance of health authorities in your area. Farms and gardens typically make social distancing and volunteering outside really easy and pretty built in, but talk with your partner about the safety measures they're taking and assess your comfort level. Share these measures with any team members who are interested in becoming involved. Many organizations have changed their operations throughout COVID, so check with your partner. There may be opportunities to volunteer virtually, such as providing admin support or creating flyers, or there may be opportunities to volunteer on your own. For instance, delivering produce to shoppers or trying out recipes in your kitchen for new recipe cards. As you know, things can change quickly with COVID, so if your availability or comfort level changes, that's okay. Just be sure to let your partner know so that they can plan ahead and stay in the loop. So let's move on to ways to engage team members at your location. Our first tip is to loop in your leadership and other team members. Surprise, surprise, it's about communication. So each of your TL, STL, or FTL submitted a letter of support for your nomination. They want to help. So keep them up to date with your partnership and let them know if you need any support, such as dedicating space in your back of house to highlighting volunteer opportunities or time to share an update at a store meeting. A great way to inspire other team members to get involved is to share information about your partnership in your back of house via email or whatever way works best for your team. Keep in mind that our team can be a resource as well for content creation. So if you're thinking, it'd be really great if we could have blank in my store to share information about this partnership, just let us know. If we can create it, we will. And it would give us the opportunity to share your fantastic idea and the new materials with other team members participating in the program. Our next tip is to make volunteering easy. So we'd suggest downloading the team member volunteer sign up sheet from our website and post it in a location where team members will see it. I think Nikki's gonna put the link in our chat and communicate the opportunity as early as you can. And next to the sign up sheet or in an email, provide all the relevant information. So this includes things like the organization's work, maybe including a brief description, their address, the time and date, the max number of team members who can participate, a description of what the volunteer activity is, what to bring, the plan for transportation, any COVID-related considerations, and a phone number for day of that people could call. So I think the more information, the better, especially during this time when people are trying to figure out what they're comfortable with and what it would look like to join something new. I think that always helps make team members feel comfortable. And finally, appreciations for those who are involved are always a great idea. So taking photos at volunteer days of other team members and sharing in whatever way works best for your team is a great way to acknowledge the hard work of others. Appreciating team members in your team huddles, store meetings, or via emails is another way. We sent surprise packages your way this week. Depending upon where you are in the country, you may or may not have received your package yet. So if you don't receive it by September 1st, please reach out to us at grants@wholecitiesfoundation.org and we will do the tracking. But In that box, which we call a starter kit, you'll find a few things inside. That includes things like Community First grant principals poster and calendar, as well as a t-shirt in your size and one for a friend. So we encourage you to share the swag in the starter kit, such as the bandanas, extra shirt, journal, and so forth, with those who have gone above and beyond in the next couple months. Unfortunately, the shirts haven't been approved for the Whole Foods Market dress code, but they are great for volunteer days and great for photos. So that's a lot of information in a short amount of time, but just wanted to open it up for questions, but also any suggestions that other team members have. We have got lots of team members on the call who have participated in the past and would love to hear any of your suggestions that new team members could take in ways that have made your partnerships really successful or have encouraged other team members to apply. So feel free to unmute yourself or put anything in the chat.
Hey everyone, it's Michaela from Scottsdale. I don't know if you're able to see me. The camera's a little funky, but anyway, I'm a cool human, and I actually volunteered at the International Rescue Committee in the Human Trafficking Survivors of Torture unit, and I found out later that they got involved. So something that with a garden that I was like, oh, I can apply this to Whole Foods. How great. Love the care package. I'm so glad to hear that other people got it too. What I've done is I'm the team trainer specialist in our store. So I see the team leaders in their meeting on a weekly basis. So I just kind of update them and say, hey, like if anybody's interested. And then when the prosperity campaign, and I know we have whole kids, so depending on the availability, I know we're really short staffed. I was saying like during Team Member Appreciation Week, it was during like the prosperity campaign and Team Member Appreciation Week was kind of like hand in hand. So I set up like a volunteer day and said, hey, anybody interested? And I got like 20 plus volunteers. And then I'm doing a volunteer day with the IRC. So like when it was my first day volunteering, when it was my first day volunteering, I was able to actually just be able to be shown around and be informed of this and that. So then for those that still want to do it afterwards, they're able to. So just some ideas to keep in mind. And then I just obviously thank the people that were able to support, and I look forward to sharing my goodies with the other people. So I hope that helps anybody listening.
Great suggestions. Thank you, Michaela.
I will say one thing we did in 2019, so it would be open to any feedback from this group. We supplied binders for team members, especially very useful in stores. So if there was a team member, in the store who was interested in Whole Cities or wanted to learn more or learn about your partner, there was like a one binder you could kind of pull out and have information that team members could go through. If y'all are interested in that, again, we could, help with the handouts, and you could print them off and put in a binder, or we could work on shipping those out. So if that would be something useful to y'all, that's something else stores have used as a resource. So open to that feedback or ideas you might have for physical things that might help.
And as Nikki mentioned with the binder, one of the reasons we did it, it was a suggestion from a team member, and we made it for him, but then shipped it to everybody. And I think one of the reasons that he was really interested in it was having a place not only that he could have a dedicated space for and other team members could access, but if he was going to eventually change positions or leave the store, it would be kind of a record of that partnership. And so his backup team member who would take over at this point would then have all of this information. So just some more context there. All right, we've got one interested person in the chat on that, so we'll make note. And while we have you here, one question that we did have, this is our first webinar of the year with the class of 2021. And we are trying to find the best time to hold events like this. We know that schedules are really different. We're across many different time zones. So if we'll be sending out an email after this webinar with a link to the webinar for those who weren't able to join, or if you want to have access to it and share with others. But we'll also be sharing a question about what time is best for these going forward. So please share any and all feedback, both on that, but anything that you want to see going forward or anything that would be helpful. We are always keen to know. Well, if there aren't any more questions or suggestions, I think we can stick to our 20 minutes and then some. And as always, just want to wrap up with appreciations. We're just so thankful to each and every one of you, to each and one of your every one of your leadership for supporting your involvement and to your dedication. We're so excited that these 55 organizations took the time to tell us about their work, and we are so excited to learn more about it and support. And this wouldn't be possible without you. So sincere appreciations from our team to you, and look out for that email probably coming tomorrow or Monday with a recap of this webinar.
Awesome. I
Thanks
actually have
to-
a question really fast.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
go for
late.
it.
And we can follow up on this like in person, but is Whole Kids at all, and I know, sorry, not Whole Kids, excuse me, Whole Cities, are you at all hiring right now? And if so, for what positions?
We are not hiring currently.
Yeah, of
We're a
course.
pretty small team, but you saw that we have grown a lot. We used to be 2 and now we're about 9. But we can definitely include those updates in our beat, I think is where we probably most likely put them. So if anything does come down the pike, we'll be sure to share.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Diana.
Yep. All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for taking the time. Hope to see you in our next webinar and in between on calls and through email, and enjoy the rest of your day and take care.